Hello, and welcome back to Seek the Joy podcast. Happy Seek the Joy Tuesday. I'm your host, Sydney Weiss, and on the podcast today, I am sharing with you our final session from Seek the Joy Summit with Kelly Rutherford. It was a conversation on empowerment and joy. Kelly is really best known for her roles on Melrose Place, Gossip Girl, Dynasty, and Pretty Little Liars. She's a mother, an artist, an actor, and an overall just really kind human being. She was on the podcast way back in 2019, and the focus of this conversation, I really wanted to talk about empowerment and the role of empowerment in joy and how we can really live a fuller life by embracing gratitude and trust. One of my biggest takeaways from my conversation with Kelly when she was on the podcast, I think it was like 2 years ago this month, back in 2019, one of my favorite takeaways from our episode together was the role of appreciation and gratitude in cultivating self-empowerment and as a result, greater joy. And I thought it would just be such a wonderful way to close out our first ever Seek the Joy Summit by providing an opportunity to reflect on these themes of gratitude, trust, empowerment, and joy in our lives. And Kelly was amazing. This was such an incredible conversation, and I just know you're going to love it too. Now more than ever, I just think it's so important that we have reliable resources that we can turn to. And that's where today's sponsor, BetterHelp, comes in. So I would love to share with you a little bit more about BetterHelp. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. And it's easy and free to change counselors if you don't think the person you've matched with is a good fit. And no matter where you're listening to Seek the Joy podcast right now, you can also use BetterHelp because the service is available for people worldwide too. I just think it's so valuable to talk to someone about what it is that you're going through, whether that's anxiety, depression, grief, loss, changes at work, or friendship dynamics or relationships, or you want to talk about the challenges of the last couple of years. And BetterHelp offers a broad range of expertise in their counselor network. So you'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions too, which I still think is a game changer. I really want you to live a happier, more joyful, and just ease-filled life. That's why I share these conversations with you. And so I'm just excited to share that as a listener of Seek the Joy podcast, you will get 10% off your first month by going to betterhelp.com/seekthejoy. Join over 1 million people and counting, taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/seekthejoy. The link will also be included in our show notes. One of my biggest takeaways from Seek the Joy Summit in general is this theme of shifting our mindset to allow ourselves to cultivate greater appreciation, gratitude, empowerment, joy, and so much of it is having the courage to aim towards our joy. And I just love this conversation with Kelly because it focuses too on joy as a practice and allowing ourselves to show up with joy and seek out more joy and making a conscious choice to continue to look for the joy and choose things that make you feel joy even when you are not surrounded by it. The world has been a crazy, tumultuous space between the pandemic and the war in Ukraine and inflation, and I could go on and on. It has not been an easy couple of years for anyone. But choosing something every day that brings you joy is just invaluable. And having that courage to feel your joy fully, that courage to receive love, to feel, to receive, and to experience was such a beautiful through line and theme through this entire summit. And I'm just so grateful to Kelly for joining us and for helping me close out such a wonderful day. So as always, I cannot wait to hear what you think about this one. Make sure to join the conversation on our social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. We are at Seek the Joy Podcast everywhere. Make sure to connect with Kelly on her Instagram at Kelly Rutherford. The link is also in the show notes for today's episode. Leave us a 5-star rating and review if you haven't already. I'm hoping to get to 200 reviews on Apple Podcasts by the time Seek the Joy Podcast hits 5 years in October. So if you could help help me get there, I would be so appreciative. And I think that's it. So without further ado, let's dive into this one, our final session from Seek the Joy Summit, a conversation on empowerment and joy with Kelly Rutherford. So how amazing was that session with Akia, Audrey, Lysandra, and Timothy? I am so grateful for all of their wisdom. I think this idea of sharing our stories now more than ever is so important and something that we're doing a lot more of. So thank you to these incredible women. And thank you all for being here and being in the chat and sharing your thoughts and the gratitude for it. It's just amazing. And so I cannot believe we are already at our final session of the day, our closing session for Seek the Joy Summit. I am so honored to be joined by Kelly Rutherford. Kelly is really, I think, best known probably for her work as an actor starring in Gossip Girl, Melrose Place, Dynasty, Pretty Little Liars. There's so many others, but really beyond that, Kelly is a mother. She's an artist and an overall incredibly kind human being, and I am so excited for her to join us. So Kelly, I'm about to invite you on to join us for this final session of the day. Kelly, hello. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me for our final session today for Seek the Joy Summit.
Yeah, it's so good to see you. This is so exciting.
So good to see you. You know, you and I sat down for Seek the Joy podcast last August, and it was a beautiful conversation, I think, all about shifting our perspective towards joy and really allowing ourselves to sit, I think, in a space of appreciation and gratitude. And that aspect of our conversation has really, really stayed with me, how joy comes from appreciation and gratitude. And I'd love for us to start off there, if we can, about shifting our mindset towards that space of appreciation and towards that space of gratitude, because, you know, we've been talking about it all day, but I think it can be such a game changer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it certainly has for me in my life. And I think once people realize that they're creating all day, whether they know it or not, you know, it helps. You know, we're either kind of creating by default because we're not aware that we're creating, or we start to realize, oh my goodness, the thoughts I'm thinking and the feelings I'm feeling are co-creating my experiences in the world and in a very interactive way. So a lot of it is just choosing joy and focusing on love and focusing on the things that the people you love and what you love doing and how you want to feel. You know, so much of it is, you know, we talk a lot about what we don't want in our culture. You know, I don't like this and whatever, but to kind of say, okay, let's spend more time. Like for instance, you know, Einstein said, you know, imagination is more important than knowledge. And I believe what he was saying is the more we can spend daydreaming and thinking about and writing about and talking about our joys and the good things that are happening in our life, what we do want, what we want to feel, who we, you know, the relationships we want to have and what, you know, we have this incredible imagination for a reason. So.
It's about, I think, allowing yourself to sit in that space of joy and allow yourself to sit in that space of gratitude. Because I remember there was something that you said when we spoke for the podcast, and it was about how you often ask yourself, what is the most empowering way I can look at this situation? So even when you're experiencing adversity or hardship or something just didn't go the way you anticipated that day, it's about looking at how you can empower yourself through it. And I think part of that empowering process is by looking at the joy, is by focusing on it.
Yeah, it's definitely the quickest way to shift the energy and the focus of everyone involved, you know, even because it's like an algorithm, right? So if we're one person at the table starts talking about something sort of that doesn't make everyone feel good, you can shift it, you know, and the awareness of, oh, okay, then the next person's going to bring up something that, oh, this happened to me today. And then you'll notice everyone starts talking about it. So it's really a form of energy and algorithm. So if you're in a situation that feels uncomfortable, you can shift the focus. That is your power in that moment. And certainly if we're dealing with adversity, there's always something. There's always lessons. Always something going on there that you can find that is good, right? And even if it's one thing, sometimes it's hard. But even if it's that one thing, and a lot of it's shifting out of this mindset of comparison or victimhood, or there's so much that goes on. We're distracted, and I always say that anything that's not about love is really a distraction. So anytime you're distracted, go back to love. Anytime you're feeling nuts, go back to appreciation, go back to gratitude. And that's where the ideas come from. That's where the inspiration comes from. That's where you shift the energy in the moment. We can't go back necessarily and change the past, although I've worked with some amazing people that are able to go back and sort of reprogram our subconscious mind in regards to the past, so that we don't keep pulling that into our present moment, so that we're in our present moment pulling from the future.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the optimal place is being here now, creating, imagining what you want your world to look like and how you want to feel.
Can we go back to what you just said, that anything that is not about love is a distraction?
Mm-hmm.
That is beautiful, because it is about reminding yourself, I think, of who you are and why you're here, what you're excited about. That has been a through line, I think, throughout this entire day, about focusing on what you love, what brings you joy, allowing yourself to sit in that space. And part of that is sitting in the love and sitting in the self-love and the self-compassion, because when you sit in it for yourself, you can start to show it to others too. Anything that is not about love is a distraction.
Yeah. Well, if you believe that that's where we come from and that's where we're going, if we come from love and that's where we're sort of going, then what we're having is this wonderful human experience. And our bodies are like technology. I mean, we have the ability, we have our own coding, our own DNA. We have the ability, to upgrade our systems based on our beliefs. We're so much more powerful than we've accessed, and because everything is outward. Everything is outward. So when you do go inward and you connect up with that frequency of love and start seeing things from that point of view, it just shifts your whole life,
It really does. And it reminds me so much of this what I focus on and I talk a lot about too on the podcast, is the moment you go inward, the moment you do your own level of self-reflection, you are developing resilience for yourself and for your life. And I often think we can build resilience through joy, and we can build resilience through empowerment. It doesn't always have to be so hard. It always doesn't have to be such a struggle. And we talked about this morning in our first session, our first panel, with AJ, Dr. Linda, and Josette, about how it is important that we sit in the adversity and we allow ourselves to experience it and decide what we're going to grow and create from it. But I think part of it too is learning how to sit in the joy and sit in the celebration and allow ourselves to build those resiliency muscles, I think, from that space of joy too, because there's that sense of agency, responsibility, and empowerment that really comes from allowing ourselves to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes it takes first getting neutral. Sometimes we can't get from this sort of struggle to joy super fast, because it's energy. And to move that energy, you kind of got to go up the energy scale.
Yes, you do.
So it's really great to sometimes sit back, like even when you're triggered by things or people or your own thoughts or whatever, is to sort of get back to a neutral space and just observe it, and sort of hold space for a minute, just sort of let all the chemicals or whatever going through your body, or the reaction, the whatever, and just let it be there for a minute, because, and this neutral is not boring at all. And when I say neutral, they're like, that sounds so boring. It's not. It's really our place of discernment and objectivity, where we can kind of realign, regroup, and say, okay, I'm not going to respond to this right now. I'm going to give it a minute. I'm going to get neutral. I'm going to allow that stuff to go through my body until I feel closer to joy and a little closer to love before I'm, going to respond.
Yeah, I love what
So
you just said about being in this neutral space. Because you're right. Sometimes when we think about being neutral, we think about, the gears on our shift in the car, and you're either in park, reverse, neutral, or drive. Neutral, you feel like I'm not doing anything, I'm not putting in any work. But it's actually in those spaces and in those moments when you allow yourself to be in neutral, to be objective, to use discernment, as you were talking about, we learn so much about ourselves. We learn so much about the way we respond, the way we feel, what our preferences are. And from that space, too, we can start to integrate the different lessons and
mhm.
learnings, too. So I think that's so interesting what you just shared. And everyone that's here, drop it in the chat if you've had those moments, too, of being in this neutral space. And how has it felt for you? Because sometimes I feel angsty, like, oh, I can't sit in this neutral space for too long. It feels good. But it's
Well,
really
you don't have to sit there for too long. It's just,
no.
it's just a moment sometimes, like
Mhm.
I know that sometimes, let's say our parents trigger us, you'll be in the car and you'll think, oh, there they go. They're going to say this. And then you're like, all your whole history comes up in that moment.
Always.
So it's just bringing yourself back to the now and saying, okay, I'm just really just going to take this moment, love this person. It's actually just being bigger. It's like being more expansive, more
Mhm.
radiant. It's holding more power within your being is what it is.
Mhm.
It's like, we're all, and in terms of, I just saw something about sitting still and being quiet.
Mhm.
You don't have to meditate in the traditional ways. I mean, sometimes I just sit and let things come through, and I have a notepad and I just write what comes through. Or sometimes it's journaling as a form of meditation. Being in nature is a form of meditation. For me, not having a music, TV, all of that stuff going helps me so much. I mean, in my home, I don't even own a television, and I don't listen to a lot of music. I listen to music that's like sort of the love frequency, like the music from White Sun, and they sort of make music in a certain frequency that is in harmony with our bodies and feeling good. So sometimes just eliminating a lot of the stuff that is creating all of that, if possible, as much as you can.
Yeah, I love what's coming through right now in the chat. Alexandra said, I remember hearing someone say that meditation can be moments of laughter. That's so
Totally.
true because we often think about meditation being one form, but really it's moments where we are allowing ourselves to rise up as our fullest expression of who we are. And that happens when we're laughing. That happens when we're in moments of connection, when we are doing something we love or with someone we love. It can be so much more
Mhm.
expansive. And joy, stepping into that joyful space allows you to be more expansive.
Yeah.
The moment you
Yeah.
start to let yourself, I think, learn through joy too, the minute you start to allow yourself, I think, to expand so much more deeply.
Yes, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Another comment that just came through is practice is so key. And I think that's so interesting because you and I have talked about this before as joy being a practice and
Mhm.
choosing to show up with joy and allowing ourselves to show up with it. And you talked about this a little bit at the beginning too about how the more we focus on the joy, the more it allows us to expand and the more it comes to us too. Now I would love for you to
Mhm.
share your thoughts on that because I think it's so beautiful about learning through joy and allowing ourselves to look and see and feel more of it.
Well, sometimes it's just seeing the beauty around you. It's noticing the person sitting in front of you. I mean, it's just noticing the color of their eyes or how their own radiance. It's like you can always choose what to look for in every moment. And if you want to look, you living in New York City, you can look at the garbage on the street, or you can look up at these magnificent buildings and the clouds in the sky and the architecture, the little flowers growing, you can see Central Park. So I think it's the same just in our day, just sort of looking for the beauty, looking for the magic, looking for the magnificence. In everything, and just realigning, it's part of it. Yes, it's discipline, it's a practice, it's also just a focus. It's the word focus just seems a little easier to me sometimes. So it's just like, oh, I'm feeling a little funny. Oh, what was I thinking, or who was I around? And okay, I just need to realign, like, okay, bless them or bless the situation. And again, it's even like you could, there are people that come into your day that may be a little bit funny or off, and, bless them. They need it, be big enough. The whole idea is that you're overflowing with love enough that you can hold space if someone is having a moment, right? And you're not going to be triggered by that moment, even though maybe sometimes it's directed at you. It's kind of like as a mother, right? your kids come and they're crying and they're upset, it's not really about you, right? You just have to hold space for that child to be expressed. So it's no different. We grow up and we're adults and people are, having moments, and it's natural that we have moments. It's natural that we have pity parties, and it's natural that we're here to have a human experience. We're here to experience all the emotions. So, for us to say that all the emotions are good, they're all fine, but the more you align, the less you attract even any of that energy, because you're just not, it doesn't come into your space so much.
Mhm. About honoring and knowing that every emotion that you're experiencing is there for a reason, and you're supposed to learn from it. And this is reminding me so much of what we talked about in our episode about how we learn from the contrast. We
Yes.
learn from different emotions. We learn from the days where we're feeling really good and also the days where we feel really great. And if we didn't have this element of contrast, life would be boring. It
Yeah, look
really
at the
would.
moon.
Yeah.
Look at the moon and all of her phases,
Mhm.
it's just we're the same. There are days I just want to lay in bed, and
Yeah.
that's okay. And there are days I get up and I'm the Energizer Bunny and I just want to do so many things and I get so much done, and I'm so, all those things get done on the list. But if I tried to do it the day before, it would have been miserable. I wasn't in a space to do it. So it's listening to our own rhythms
Mhm.
as well and not judging them, because we all have them. There's days I'm not hungry at all. Like I'm like, oh, I want like 3 coffees. And
Yeah.
then there are days I'm so hungry. Like I want to eat. So why does it have to be the same every day? And why do we have to feel the same every day and show up the same? Let's listen to our bodies and our rhythms and honor that, it's
Honoring
so
the
much
rhythm,
easier.
honoring the rhythms and not judging yourself for whichever rhythm you're in this moment. I think that's key too, is removing that element of self-judgment, because you're right. It's like on that day where you're like, I just want to lay in bed, you could have two ways of thinking. You could go, I'm really tired and I need rest and I'm going to honor myself. Or you could say, why am I so lazy? Why am I not doing everything on my to-do
Right.
list that I need to get done? And so again, it's about this self-talk and this mindset that you can shift into, that I think is really important.
Yeah, and even if you have to get things done on those days, or you're a mom, or you have to go to the office, or just whatever it is,
Yeah.
just do with whatever you can. I mean, have a day. Just have a day from,
Yeah.
it's so natural. It's just, if we listen, it's sort of a common sense approach to joy and love and all of that. So
I love this. We just got a really beautiful comment from Nicole, and it says, it's in these moments I believe we are living our purpose by just being. I love this because I think as humans, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to do, to create, to be. We have an expectation. But sometimes, and I'm a big believer in this, our purpose here is just to be who we are and to allow ourselves to shine our brightest. And to shine your brightest, you've got to know what lights you up. You got to know what brings you
Mhm.
joy. And so you've got to allow yourself, I think, that exploration through that as well.
Yes, and that's so beautiful what you said about the allowing
Mm.
too. It's so just allowing the joy in, allowing the love in, allowing
Yeah.
yourself to feel good, because we sometimes we put up a lot of resistance to that because we've either had an experience, and again, that's the past. So you're
Yeah.
bringing that in. So just be conscious of, in this moment, you're safe. In this moment, the Dalai Lama said, if you're not in imminent danger, be happy. If you're not, in a in crazy, be happy, because
Mhm.
we'll know what to do in those moments if we are, and instinctively. So in this moment, allow it in. Say, I'm allowing the joy in. I'm allowing love in. I'm allowing prosperity. I'm allowing health and well-being in.
Mhm.
Because what you'll realize is, oh boy, I was kind of resisting that. What is, and without even judging it, who knows why? And, just there's a lot going on at all times on this planet. So it's just, that's where I think the benefit of sitting down and getting quiet and just feeling in your body, like, where's the resistance? Where am I, and
Yeah.
go through the list of the things that you want and say, okay, hey, I'm allowing it in, and it'll be in harmony with me, and it's safe. It's prosperity is safe for me. Where love is safe. It's beautiful. I'm attracting a beautiful love, for me. for you. Each one of us has a different version of that and how we want that to feel. So
I love what you just said, that it's really about allowing. But we often, like you said, we have resistance. And Lysandra just put this in the chat too. Fear can be so crippling. And often I think it's almost like this sense of courage to choose your joy, courage to choose love, courage to allow, and to just believe and to trust that, I can allow these things to come into my life. But you're right, it is about breaking down that level of resistance and really looking at what it is, and then moving through that. I think what you have said is so far is really beautiful and so valuable.
thank you. Well, I believe we're infinite beings. We are infinite, and we're not necessarily raised that way, and therefore we don't experience life always that way. So when we connect up with that, it's very freeing, and you realize we're here for a minute. We should enjoy whatever this is. As crazy as it seems.
I want to go to a question we just got in the Q&A. And as a reminder, everyone, you can drop any questions that you have in the Q&A and keep sending your thoughts in the chat. It's so beautiful. So this is from Francesca, and it says, question for Kelly. Has there ever been a time in your life, whether it's professional or private, when you struggled to find joy, or that you felt really stuck, and how did you overcome that? Oh, I love this.
Yes. I still do.
Joy.
Sorry, what?
Oh, I was just going to say, I love this because I think we often struggle to find our joy.
Totally. And I still do. I still have days where I go, oh, okay, Kelly, refocus. It's just kind of like realigning. And of course, I've had huge challenges to overcome. Like all of us, I think we all each have our own challenges in our life, whether it's professional, personal, whatever, global. And so, and we need to have days, I think there are days you feel lost and you feel like that little thing on the computer that spins around with no direction. And then you realize that the birds do it too. Those birds get in those groups and they spin around, until they figure out where the right direction is. So I think it's normal for us to have moments of, okay, I need to recalibrate, particularly when you're growing, or you're going through a challenging time, or you're learning a lot of new stuff, or you're dealing with new challenges, even in a new love relationship, a new job. So it's realigning yourself with who you now are and what you're now experiencing. And again, that comes with allowing, saying, I don't have to have all the answers. But I do know, and what I learned a lot going through challenges, is that by focusing on the problem, you tend to get more problem. And by focusing on the solution and focusing on what you can find, if anything, that is working, that it will kind of be a guide. It will be that light, that in the dark tunnel is what is working, what are my current resources. Me being in joy is going to serve me and everyone around me so much better than me being, because what I realized was, of course you want to cry and you feel lost and you feel alone and a victim and all these things. Sometimes we're going through challenges, but if you can, little by little, have those journal entries where you say, it's all working as it should. We're all divinely guided and protected. This is working out for all of our highest good. Whatever you can do just to lift a little at a time. Sometimes it's a little. Sometimes it's like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to get a coffee. And you go walk in nature. You have a coffee. You still don't know, but you're just shifting the energy. It's like, I'm going to go to nature. I'm going to get out of my space and move the energy around in my body, whether it's you get on that yoga mat and just move it around, breathe it through. So there's on so many levels, right? Whether it's our thoughts, our physical, the spiritual aspect. And the thing is, when we step out of the way and allow, there's so much of infinity that comes through that works in ways that we could never come up with. So that's what I mean, focusing on the problem, sometimes you're not allowing the universe to come in and co-create a solution.
Yeah. I love what you're saying because it reminds me of something that I've been thinking a lot about recently, which is it's not about denying what you're experiencing, but it's about making an active choice in the moment to shift your energy. So it's not about saying this problem doesn't exist anymore. It's saying, I know it exists, I acknowledge you, but I'm going to shift my own energy and I'm going to actively choose to move my way through this or to separate myself for a moment to gain perspective or to feel better for myself because you don't want to live in that space forever. So it's about even just the little things that you can choose to do in those moments or in your day to help shift your energy, your vibration, so that things start to move for you in a different way.
Totally. And that is in our power. That is what's in our power.
Yeah. We just got another question, which I want to read. It's so beautiful. It's from Lysandra, and it says, can you speak to what has allowed you to keep good things in your life? A lot of people are good at manifesting, but can you speak to what it takes to hold and transmute abundance, love, freedom, artistry, etc.? So, what has allowed you to keep, I think, good things in your life?
Mm. Well, there's a quote that a friend of mine, he did a little painting for me and he wrote on the back, worship all that you see and more will appear.
Mm.
And it's such a beautiful quote. And I think the more you appreciate things in your life, if they're meant to stay, they will stay. But even if they're not, because there's free will in the world. So if you're in a love relationship and that person is meant to be with you, at least they're going to vibrate out of your life in a beautiful way, on a beautiful note, right? And hopefully you'll have beautiful memories of the experience with each other. So the idea is, what is love, and are we practicing love? Love, there's no ownership, there's none. It's really about appreciation in all relationships and all things. It's appreciating the beauty around you, the people around you, the work, whatever it is. And if there's things that you want to shift and change, go to your daydreams, sit on the mat or go for a walk and think about, you don't have to deny what's happening or make what's happening wrong. You can still appreciate whatever's there to appreciate in what's happening. And at the same time, bring in the future by using your imagination. That's what we're here to do, is co-create with the infinity that created us, and that whatever created the birds and the trees and connect up with that energy and imagine how you want it to be. If we spent more time imagining how we wanted it to be, things shift really fast. And you don't have to worry about the how, the when, the where, even the why. People are talking about the why now. It's all about the why.
Yeah.
It's just, as long as it feels good to you and it's fun for you, just imagine all the things you want, or make a vision board. I love vision boards, write about it. And then let it go,
Yeah. I love what you just said about spending time in your imagination, dreaming up what you want your life to look like, how you want to feel, what you want it to be. We can sometimes feel silly doing that. Like, should I really be doing that? Maybe I should be more quote unquote practical. But that's really in that space of dreaming and allowing yourself to dream and allowing yourself to sit in that imagination for yourself that you can create. You can bring in greater joy, better love, bigger love for yourself and for others, because you have to allow yourself to dream. If we don't allow ourselves to dream, things will stay as they are or small and not exactly who we are or what we want. So I love this message of allow yourself to step into your imagination and allow yourself to dream.
But we're doing it all day anyway. It's not a practical, we're doing it all day for practical things anyway, right? So you get up in the morning and you go, oh, I gotta brush my teeth. You see it before you do it all day long anyway. You see your day anyway. So, we're using it. It's just us being in the driver's seat of it and realizing that we're doing it all day anyway, whether we realize it or not. So
yeah, you're right. We are. And so given that we are doing it all the time, let's make an active choice to dream bigger and louder and share it with others. And we are coming close to the end of our time together today. I cannot believe how quickly this went. I want to make sure if anybody has any final questions or anything for Kelly, make sure to drop it in the Q&A. And Kelly, I really just love your perspective on walking into this space of appreciation and gratitude as a way to cultivate greater joy. Because when you focus on the good, more good comes. When you focus on the negative, you stay in that negative space too long. So it's really about stepping in to your appreciation and your gratitude and finding moments, I think, throughout the day to check in with yourself too about where you are with your gratitude and your joy and your appreciation in those moments as well.
Sure, for sure. Yeah. Well, you put together such a beautiful event. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of it. I'm so inspired by you and your podcast and your Instagram, and this is just, I hope you keep doing this, because I know I've enjoyed it, and I know everyone else has. So I know it's a lot of work for you, but it's such a gift to us. So thank you.
I'm so grateful, Kelly. I really am. You and I have talked many times about podcasts and this podcast, and just I'm so grateful for you and the friendship that we've been able to build. And thank you so much for being here and sharing your beautiful wisdom with all of us as our closing session for Seek the Joy Summit. All right. So I'm going to say goodbye to Kelly. Kelly, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
Thank you.
That was amazing, everybody. I'm a little floored about this day and the comments that are coming through right now. And I want to read some of them if you all don't mind. So inspiring. Kelly and Sydney, you're amazing. Thank you for sharing so many unique voices. Sharon says, thank you. Wonderful job. Thank you from Laura. Kim says, this whole Zoom meeting has been amazing. Thank you, Sydney, for putting this together. You guys, I'm so floored and honored to have been able to put together our first ever Seek the Joy Summit. I said this at the very, very, very beginning. Over the last year, we really had to redefine connection and redefine the ways that we come together and connect with one another and celebrate each other. And I'm just so grateful that you're all here. You're all part of this journey. So how this is going to end, I don't know how I'm going to say goodbye to you all. This evening, I'm going to be sending out the replay. So if you want to catch any of these sessions again, you are more than welcome. I'll be sending it out to you, as well as all the information on how to connect with our incredible panelists, speakers. And we have an incredible giveaway that was made possible because of our incredible Summit supporters. So I'll be announcing the winner or winners of that giveaway later today. We've also got something brand new, which is Seek the Joy merch. I'm wearing one of our new t-shirts right now. So I'll be sending out the link for you all to check that out as well. And just in deep gratitude and appreciation for everyone who has been here today, participating. You all have really filled me with so much joy. This is really, I'm gonna try not to cry, but this is really what I love, and so I'm so grateful. So wishing you all just an amazing rest of your weekend, and thank you all so much. And keep an eye out for my email later with the details about watching this again, the giveaway winner, and how to connect with our amazing speaker. So wishing you all the best, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Seek the Joy podcast is a production of Seek the Joy Media and created, produced, and hosted by me, Sydney Weiss. You can tune into all of our episodes on your favorite podcast platform, and if you're enjoying the show, hit follow and leave us a 5-star rating and review. Make sure to join the community, join the conversation on our social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. We are at Seek the Joy Podcast everywhere, and don't forget, you can actually watch today's new episode and all of our episodes on our brand new YouTube channel. Click that link in the show notes to subscribe and tune in. As always, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And I'll see you right back here next week for another Seek the Joy Tuesday.